Greetings and welcome once again to the Gaming Codex, the show where I try to explain to you all the various words and terms used to describe video games in the video games industry. Today's term is that of Rockstar Panic, which according to a general definition that I made up, is also known as Rockstar Anxiety or GTA Fear. It is the act by which the entire games industry tries to avoid the release date of a Rockstar game, delaying their own titles by at least a month, sometimes several months. This isn't a phenomenon that occurs very often because we're not talking about every game that is released under the brand name Rockstar. Just a very small contingent of the games produced by the various studios that are under this umbrella, mostly Rockstar North, the people responsible for the GTA series and Red Dead Redemption. What happens is that whenever a release date is announced for one of these games, the closer you get to that release date, the more you will see other games being delayed. Or if not delayed, some of the braver ones will move their game forward a bit. The ones banking on the idea that if they can get their game out first, before the next Rockstar game, at least 3 weeks before, then people will have the necessary funds to buy their game and not necessarily think that, oh, I should save up for the next Rockstar game. I can probably afford both of them. A great example of this is what Ubisoft did last week with the release of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, an open world game released in the same month as Red Dead Redemption 2, but released at the beginning of the month, not necessarily in the calamity zone of the release of the game on the 26th of October. Were it to have been released in the same time frame as Red Dead Redemption 2 or as any other big Rockstar game, it would have been very unfortunate. And this is not because of Red Dead Redemption 2 itself. This is because it is a big budget, multi-year, planned out, gigantically marketed Rockstar game. Any of their games that fall into this category have had the same effect. They have driven companies out of the month of October, sometimes even out of the same year. We've seen exoduses with GTA 5, we've seen them with the first Red Dead Redemption in a smaller scale, and especially with GTA 4. GTA 4 sent games packing, and then some came back because the game was delayed from October to April. Though in April you would still not find necessarily the same kind of game as GTA 4, mostly because, well, nobody had the guts to do it. You would still find different types of games in the same period as a Rockstar game, but not in the same vein, not in the same genre even. You would always find sports games, some RPGs, some puzzle games, something like that, some party games, some platformer, but never an action game. A great example of this is Battlefield 5 that was supposed to be released on the 19th of October, a week before Red Dead Redemption 2. Sure, it did need some bug fixes, but let's face it, it's an EA game that never stopped them. But this did, which brings us to the popular definition. Cowards. If the product is good, it should speak for itself. They should fight mano a mano with the big dog. That's how you do it. That's how you lose. There is no upside to releasing a game at the same time as a much larger, much more sought after game than yours. Even if you think you've made the best game ever, releasing it at the same time is practically suicide. Electronic Arts already did this to its own game, Titanfall 2, by sandwiching it between Battlefield 1 and one of the Call of Duties. The game was utterly destroyed. Not because it was a poor game, that was actually quite enjoyable, quite good, but sandwiched between two very similar games in terms of the general gameplay, the target audience, that's actually the most important thing, guaranteed it would be another failure in terms of sales. And pretty much anything that will be put up against Red Dead Redemption 2 will fail just as much as Titanfall 2 did. The market isn't going to double in size just because there are two games being released at the same time. The public has a limited supply of money at any given time. They need a period of recharging, if you will, to gather more funds and to digest this game first. 3 weeks is the minimum, I would say. 2 if you feel brave enough. 1 if you are suicidal, the same day if you never want your game to be heard of ever again. The day after if you want people to refuse to accept the fact that you, the creator, even exist at all, because no one will be paying attention to you. No one. Every site will be filled with walkthroughs, with tips and tricks, with all sorts of articles about the big gigantic Rockstar game. It doesn't matter if you're Electronic Arts, it doesn't matter if you're Activision. You are going up against a legacy of decades, a legacy of making the, GTA series. There's nothing above that. Well, nothing in this genre, I mean, in this general broad genre. It's like releasing a new platformer game on the Switch at the same time as a new Mario game. Nobody's gonna care. And that leads us to the marketing definition. Panic. One of the worst things that Rockstar could ever do is not announce the release date for their games until like a month before launch. If that ever happens, you will see people jumping out of windows. The potential panic that can be created by a Rockstar game has no peer. You always know when the next Call of Duty, when the next, if it's not delayed, when the next Battlefield is gonna hit. Rockstar, on the other hand, can be a bit unpredictable because they can release in the fall, they can release in the springtime, they can release an enhanced version that'll totally kill the sales of whatever you're planning to do. Make no mistake, even though people are estimating that Red Dead Redemption 2 will sell a lot fewer copies than GTA 5, it will still sell more copies than anything since GTA 5 and this point in time. It will be a monster game. You cannot fight it. The best you can do is get out of its way and hope they don't release a DLC at the same time as your game, or a patch or anything when your game is out. Because if they do, if you're in the same vague action genre as one of their creations, a shooter, a multiplayer thing, Fallout 76 is gonna die because of it. I mean, the beta, at least, it's gonna be released 3 days before Red Dead Redemption 2. If Rockstar even blinks at you, it is like being noticed by Chrome. You do not want to be noticed by Chrome, which is why in October this year you're not gonna see a lot of games in the we want to actually sell stuff AAA action genre, or AA, or NA. You're still gonna see the spam that's on Steam non-stop, and again, your smaller games, your strategy games, maybe things that have the least amount of potential to overlap with a Rockstar game. And even those will suffer just a bit. So closes another chapter of the Gaming Codex. Come back next time when we will talk about a brand new subject. Goodbye.